Hi, welcome to Sauce and Stuff. I'm Seth. I'll be making sauce tonight and talking about stuff. Thus the name. Very clever, I know. So I will tell you right now, tonight we will be making my Carolina style barbecue sauce. It is known as Wampus Sauce. Partly because my friend who requested it is from North Carolina. Also is a fan of the Wampus cat. For those of you who don't know what the Wampus cat is, Wampus cat is a Cherokee myth about a woman who was cursed to live a half-life as some kind of weird monstrous feline because she spied on a secret ceremony of the elders, so they cursed her. So she's like some weird half-cat thing. And tellings vary. I mean, some people say it can swim, some people say it has 6 legs, some people say it's like a wolf man but cat woman, but not like the DC Comics Whip Catwoman Michelle Pfeiffer thing, or I guess Anne Hathaway most recently. But in the 1920s and 30s in Georgia, where I currently reside, and North Carolina, there were several animal mutilations, cattle mutilations that were the result of a Wampus cat. Unsolved, actually. Interesting story. But because this is a Carolina sauce, it is going to be very much a vinegar-based sauce. I've already got my vinegar in the pot. And then I'm just going to start adding some ingredients. I've got ketchup. Not so much as your traditional barbecue sauces, as it is, I myself am a fan of a thicker, sweeter sauce than the traditional Carolina style. But it's a great sauce for pork, pulled pork especially. I have some Worcestershire and Dijon mustard. Again, just a little bit of flavor. I have seen some people do this, and you'll notice I'm wearing a black shirt because this does splash. So only wear white if you're looking for a souvenir. Some people will do this, and it's strictly vinegar and red pepper flakes. I'm not that guy. Some people approach barbecue like science. I approach it like mad science. I'm going to write down my recipes, but I also just get in here and go, what happens if? I have some ground mustard seed. I don't know what this is. It was on the counter. I'm kidding. It's garlic. It's garlic. Have some ground cinnamon. Some salt, white pepper with a dash of black pepper, because you want heat in this. You want a good heat, and the great thing about this sauce is it will build heat over time. The longer someone keeps it and lets the pepper steep. Little bit of brown sugar, as you can see, that is a tiny amount of brown sugar. In my other barbecue sauces that I make, there are a lot more brown sugar than that. And then a good amount of red pepper flakes. And then what I'm going to do is just stir this all up a little bit, kind of break the clumps up. And then I'm going to put it over a medium heat and continue stirring with a whisk until all of the liquid ketchup, mustard, and the dry ingredients have incorporated, and let it simmer. And then we're going to be good to go. I know what your thing is. Is all this is going to be? No, it gets better. At least I hope it gets better. I hope you think it gets better. I think it's great, but I'm a little biased because I'm doing it. But, so when I started making barbecue sauce, I had my buddy from North Carolina who was like, oh, I really need a Carolina style Q. Like, your other sauce is good, but I need Carolina style. And I said, I can do that. And he's ran through the last of his jars. So I said, you know what? We're in a quarantine. He's making tons of pulled pork. You leave a gallon-sized bag of pulled pork outside for me. I will drop off some Wampus sauce, and you may continue your festivities. Yeah, it works. But my other buddy, Dewey, he likes all barbecue sauce. He doesn't care. So whenever I make any kind of barbecue sauce, I always give him a little bit. Dewey, if you're watching, you're going to get some of this, I promise. I don't know if you're going to want to dip your burgers in it like normal, but whatever, man. It's all good in my book. Interesting story about my buddy Dewey and his friend Bear. Bear's a truck driver, you know, and Dewey's rode with him a time or two, you know. Well, he was dropping off a load of trailer at a farmer's market, like the old big Georgia farmer's market, for those that went to it, where you just have tractor trailers from the farms back up, or big flatbeds full of crates of produce. He had dropped one of these off at a farmer's market, and I think he said it was in Mississippi, but I'm not 100% positive on that. But anyway, they see this green, not Winnebago, but like an RV style, older RV style driving off, and they notice this package where it just pulled off from. Anyway, so they pick up this package, and it's got some good heft to it, and Bear takes the note by it, and sees he can't make it out fully, but it's a B-Y, and he's like, oh my God, and they open it, and he's like, oh my God, it's a baby. So Bear, being a good Samaritan, like anybody, I hope, goes, oh my God, those people forgot their baby. And Dewey, another good guy, is like, well, we need to get the baby back to them. I mean, you don't leave a baby at a farmer's market if you're ditching it, because those people are there to buy produce, not reproduced. So they keep going. But anyway, so they pile in the big rig, and Bear's like, I got a couple days for my next stop. We've got to go. We've got to get this baby back home. And they go, and they of course don't have anything for it, so they have to stop at a store. Back when you could go in those, for those who remember those times. And they get diapers, wipes, bottles, formula, everything you're gonna need for a baby. Some form of car seat. I think actually it was like a construction of bungee cords and duct tape. Definitely not safe. Definitely not recommended. But kept the kid okay, apparently, in one piece and not like dead. So anyway, he said they were going, and he said it kept crying. They kept hearing it, in the back of the cab, in the sleeper area, just crying. And Bear was like, well, I'll feed it. You drive for me. And Dewey, good guy's like, all right, Bear, cool. So Bear goes back, feeds it, burps it. A couple hours later, they start really smelling the baby, because babies do like 3 things really good: sleep, eat, poop. For those of you expecting kids, let me just go ahead and tell you, more poop than you think, and children can projectile vomit. It's kind of crazy the first time you see it. But anyway, so they're like, oh my God, we've got to change a diaper. We've never changed a diaper before. These are 2 young bachelors. They don't know anything. So they pull over and they muddle their way through it. But eventually they apparently get rid of the toxic waste that this child had laid. And then get back on the road. And on the road they're going. Got pulled over by a state trooper who gave him some really weird looks. I'm assuming because, you have a bungee cord and duct tape baby carrier with a child in it, but who knows. Anyway, they continue on their merry way. Finally track down people. And they think, they see that same green paint job. And they go, well, this has got to be them. They get out and they go up and they knock on the door. Lady opens the door. And they're like, ma'am, we found your baby. We've been taking care of him. Hope I realize you've probably been torn up, probably called the police. And the lady looks at him surprised, and they hand her this swaddled little bundle, and she's got a weird look on her face, and she unwraps it, and she looks at him and she goes, this is a butternut squash. And they're like, ma'am, it's okay. And she's like, no, this is a butternut squash. You brought me a rotting butternut squash. Why would you? And they're like, ma'am, it's okay. We don't want a reward. We just wanted you to have your baby back. And they get in the car. They get back in the truck. This lady is just standing there perplexed, holding this rotting piece of vegetation. And Dewey looks at Bear and he goes, Bear, look, can I see the paper? And he goes, yeah. And he goes, because this lady's house is green, but she doesn't have an RV, And he goes, oh yeah, well here's the paper. So Dewey gets the paper, and he looks at it and he goes, huh, a pound of B be why. And you could still read those. The rest were a little bit faded, but with a little bit of effort, and a little bit of light behind it. Dewey takes a look, and it's blueberries. So they had found a receipt for a non-corresponding item, and Bear, well, he's a bear. What do you expect? I mean, the fact that he can drive is pretty impressive, I think. But anyway, so in case you couldn't tell, that was fun imagination land. Or was it? You be the judge. Other things that I like to talk about when I do this is I like to just randomly rabble about barbecue and how good barbecue is. Again, Wampus sauce, the Carolina style Q, is known specifically for pork. If you are going to be cooking a pork shoulder, worried about it maybe drying out because maybe it doesn't have a good fat content on the outside like you really want, a little fat inside so it can maintain that moisture. Something you do is take one of those giant nightmare-inducing hypodermics to insert in meat, and you fill it with apple juice, and if you want, you can put a little like cayenne pepper, like ground cayenne pepper, ground red pepper, depending on where you're buying it and what it's called, and inject into it, because one, it'll help really spread the flavor, which is already in the traditional Carolina style and Wampus sauce. And then you're going to have a good time because the apple pairs really well. And again, this is an apple cider based. Some people like a white vinegar based. I like the apple cider vinegar based because I think apple and pork are just naturally, they're good flavors to go together. Interesting story about pigs. If you ever murder a person, feed them to pigs. Pigs will eat everything, but don't overfeed the pigs. Like, don't be an overzealous serial killer, right? Like, oh, I've killed 12 people for my one pig. Because then, guess what? The pig's not going to eat everything. And then, you know, when they come around, they're going to find fragments, they're going to find DNA, and then, whoops, you're done. Belle Gunnis, famous serial killer of the Midwest, also known as the Princess of Hell, would lure lonely widowers out and butcher them. And didn't feed them to her pigs, oddly enough. Would feed like part of them, but then like bury the rest in the pig pen. Which was weird because then later they were able to dig up the remains, and they're like, "Whoa, here's this guy who shut him down and then vanished, and you know his family is now here searching and can't find him because you know pigs were trampling on his remains, but not eating him because she was very foolish in that regard." But yeah, no, I talk about a lot of weird things. I think if I were going to murder someone, well, I wouldn't ever, obviously, because that's just silly. I think pigs are a good way to go. You know, industrial vat of acid, if you've got it, but I feel like a good slop of pigs is probably easier to come by. Well, this looks like it's about done. It's got a nice red tint to it, but it's not a cloudy sauce. You can really smell the vinegar from here, which, you know, if you're a fan of Carolina style Q, not the mustard based, which I do like the mustard based sauce. I don't have a mustard based sauce myself that I make. You know, I do make Seth's scary sauces. That's the name Wampus sauce. My other two staples are Hansel and Gretel sauce and Witch's Trap, which is a spicier variant of the sweet Hansel and Gretel. For those of you that like Carolina style barbecue sandwiches, pulled pork, and then they put the coleslaw on and your sauce on the bun. It's really good. Sometimes I like to switch it up a little bit, and I like to do pimento cheese. I like my homemade pimento cheese. It's a little spicier. Maybe I'll make that on one of these. And while I realize it's not a sauce, it's a side, it's a dip, it's a condiment, it's whatever you want it to be. So we'll see, right? So anyway, thank you guys for tuning into Sauce and Stuff. And if you like it, please leave a like, please leave a comment, let me know what you think. And we will be back later if we're desired. Thank you, and have a good time.